What is up guys, my name is Brian and I work with an artist named Kloofy. This video, I'm going to do pretty much a beat breakdown. I have the beat made here already and I'm just going to break it down for you guys, but the reason that I'm doing this video is because I ran across a phrase or a saying or something like that where they were saying like, imitation is the biggest form of a compliment, you know? And that pretty much just means exactly what it says, right? If you imitate someone, that means you like it a lot and you are inspired by them and you create something based on what you feel like they represent. So the beat that I'm going to be breaking down for you guys is literally that. One of the artists that I've been really enjoying listening to recently, and just someone who I feel like does this very well, is on top of the game, is Slow Burn. I don't really know much about Slow Burn if I'm being honest. You know, he doesn't really have posts on Instagram or even pictures, right? But just based on his discography and the songs that he's putting out, even the independent releases that he's putting out, they're just what I would say is the top of the lo-fi game right now when it comes to like those slow, sleepy, just comforting beats. So try to make something like that, and today I'm going to be breaking down for you guys. Alright, so before we start, I just want to play for you guys the drop, or, you know, a part of the song pretty much. Even this song, if you check the BPM out, it's 56, which is really slow, you know, like I would say normally the lowest I go is like 65, but you know, I really dropped it down for this one. Going by parts or the instrumentals, the very first thing that I would have started with was this piano loop. Nothing much to it, just very mellow sounds. I feel like for types of beats like this, sound selection is more important than the melody itself. It's about just the overall feeling that you get when you listen, right? So I started out with that piano, and then I tried to make a pad on top of it, and it sounds like this. So again, not much to it. The bottom notes are following the root notes, and then the tops are just kind of like flares on. It's like another augmented grand piano preset, and I put Valhalla Supermassive on it to make it a little more wide and atmospheric. And then this is like the sparkles on top. So if you guys saw my last video, I told you guys about the thing that I've been liking the most is combining Portal and Valhalla Supermassive. So that's literally what this is, right? Again, the bottom notes are following the root notes, and I got a little arp on top, and then, you know, throw in the Portal on there, throw in a little Valhalla Supermassive, and then it just gives that beautiful texture that when you play the three sounds by themselves, it's just the feeling that you get, right? Again, imitation, greatest form of flattery. Slow burn, this is literally what I feel like slow burn is, you know, those soft sounds. I think he describes it as kind of like embers on a campfire or something, like slowly burning off, and that cozy feeling that you get. That is what I would say slow burn is, and what this type of sound I'm trying to emulate is. On top of that, I got this guitar kind of arp again. You add in the other sounds again. And that's pretty much it, guys. On top of that, you add the bass, soft hidden drums. pretty much the only other thing I added was this grand piano preset. I feel like it's just like a little glassy top that you can add on the end. Very clean, soft sounds. This one is the Space Grand preset on the augmented grand piano, and then I think on top of it, again, Valhalla Supermassive, just really making it ambient and wide. And I threw on an EQ on there, emphasizing the high notes, because like I said, this is the top melody. So you want to cut off kind of the low parts so that it doesn't clash too much with the original keys that you have. And then you get something like this. And yeah guys, that's pretty much it. Looking at it from the outside, I feel like this beat seems really simple. You know, it's just a bunch of arps. You got a single solid melody on top, and then just kind of like chords for the root of the song. But I feel like in terms of the lo-fi genre, especially when it comes to the slow and sleepy beats, and I feel like I said this before, but it's more about the feeling that you convey from the song, right? Versus just crazy melodies and crazy counter melodies, drums. It's just the simplicity of it that really makes it pop out, right? You know, I think a really important aspect of beats like this is the sound selection, that you want things to be soft, but also clear, right? You don't want everything to be softened up and then muffled down. You still want those sounds to be heard. That's why, you know, you gotta play with the EQs, you gotta play with reverbs to make certain parts stand out and certain parts kind of dim down a little bit. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. If you haven't checked out Slow Burn yet, I think it would really do you guys a big eye-opening experience. And he has a bunch of songs. I think he's relatively, if not very consistent on Spotify. I think already he has a few songs out this year. It is halfway through the year, but you know, unlike someone you know, he actually puts out regular songs. So yeah, go check him out. And like I said, the reason for this video is I just wanted to emphasize that phrase of imitation, greatest form of flattery. There's nothing wrong, I feel like, with imitation, right? Now, if you took imitation and then kind of discredited the others and claimed that it was your original, then we'd have kind of issues. But I feel like people get inspired by others all the time. Music is the same thing, right? You listen to what you like, you try to copy it, and then eventually when you do enough of that, it will become a part of your craft, and then you can utilize that as another tool to make your own craft, right? Rather than just kind of being stuck in your loop. It's like, you know what you want, but you don't want to copy, so you're just kind of like sitting there trying to make your own thing. I feel like it can give you an edge. I really do. That's how I started out when I was making lo-fi, right? I was constantly listening to other people's songs and then comparing it to my own, seeing like what was different, what's the same, what could I do better in order to, you know, fit those playlists and other vibes that the artists were giving that I cannot do at the moment. But yeah, I don't mean to drag this video out. That's pretty much it. I might drop this song depending on you guys' feedback. Again, it looks finished, but also I feel like there's more things you could do. If you guys have any suggestions, I'm very open to them, so leave them in the comments. And that's pretty much it, guys. So, peace.